In today's class, we will have an SAP ABAP complete and detailed overview. So let's get started. ABAP stands for Advanced Business Application Programming. It is a fourth generation language and currently it is positioned along with Java as the main language for SAP application server programming. So let's start with the high level architecture of SAP system. The SAP system consists of three-tier architecture. We will have diagram. Let me hide this toolbar. So as you can see in this diagram, it is a representation of SAP ERP server architecture, which has three tiers. So in first layer we have presentation. In presentation layer you have customers or clients PC which has SAP GUI installed, and second tier, which is known as application layer, it has SAP ABAP server, and last layer, which is called database, it has stored RDBMS, relational database management systems. So application layer interacts with database layer to send and receive data in SAP ERP RDBMS systems, and application layer also provide presentation at the end user systems, which is controlled by SAP GUI. Just for your information, we have couple of SAP GUIs available. You can install it as a Windows application with the help of JVM, Java Virtual Machine. You can also install it in the Linux based system, or there is also option of available of SAP GUI as a web based graphical user interface, so it can be accessible across all the devices, whether you have Android phone, iPhone, or smartphone, tablets, or you are using any other operating system like Linux, Unix, or iOS. So basically it is not dependent on any kind of operating system or hardware or machine. So that's why JVM, Java Virtual Machine, is the layer between SAP GUI. So it interacts with application layer of ABAP, and ABAP interacts with database for all kind of data within the system of your SAP ERP system. So as you can see, our SAP ERP is the three-tier client-server architecture. So every layer has its own purpose and benefits, and database layer consists of all, and it records all the transactions and data which are being performed in SAP ERP. And application layer, the main concept of application layer is to interact with end user system with SAP GUI, and all the transaction or action performed by that user are going to RDBMS with the help of application layer. So let's scroll further. As you can see here, the presentation layer consists of any input device that can be used to control SAP system. This could be a web browser, as I told earlier, a mobile device, and so on. All the central processing takes place in application server. The application server is not just one system in itself, but it can be multiple instances of the processing system. To explain this, like, you can have multiple application server. The kinds of application servers can be production server, which is live for all the users within the company or whatever organization you have. Then you can have QA server, which is the QA application server, which is used for testing purpose, and then you have application development application server, which is used for SAP ABAP development for new kind of customized requirements and applications and portals and reports, whatever you want to create in your SAP ERP. So As you can see here, the server communicates with the database layer that is usually kept on a separate server. As we have seen in the above diagram, like the database layer was separate. The mainly reason for these are performance and also for security, and communication happened between each layer of the system from the presentation layer to database and then back up the chain. Here we have one note. ABAP programs run at the application server layer. Technical distribution of software is independent of its physical location. It means basically all three levels can be installed on top of each other on one computer, or each level can be installed on different computer or a server. Okay, let's see further. So that was an overview of SAP ERP architecture and whatever the backend architecture of SAP ERP. Just for your information, SAP is an abbreviation of Systems Application and Program. Now let's have an overview of ABAP programs. So basically ABAP is the development languages used by software developers or ABAP certified consultants used to develop custom applications, programs, reports, portals, or any kind of projects or workflows which are being discussed in their company and organization. So ABAP is basically used to achieve all those functionalities which are not being provided by standard SAP system. So let's look further. A ABAP program resides inside the SAP database. Whatever program you create, it is stored in the database of SAP ERP. They execute under the control of the runtime system, that is a part of the SAP kernel. The runtime system processes all above statements, controlling the flow logic and responding to the user events. So unlike C++ and Java and other traditional programming language, ABAP programs are not stored in separate external files inside a database. ABAP code exists in two forms. So in source code that can be viewed and edited with the ABAP workbench tools, and generated code, which is a binary representation. If you are familiar with Java, this generated code is somewhat comparable with Java bytecode. So whenever, if you remember, if you have done some kind of programming in Java language, so whenever you compile the Java source code, so it transforms that source code file into Java bytecode file. So it can be readable for system as a JVM, Java virtual machine. So same thing is happening in here in SAP ABAP. The runtime system can be considered as a virtual machine, just similar to a Java virtual machine. A key component of the ABAP runtime system is the database interface that turns database independent statements (OpenSQL) into statements understood by the underlying database native SQL. SAP can work with a wide variety of databases, and the same ABAP program can run on all of those. So this was an overview of SAP ERP and SAP ABAP as a development and programming language for customization in your SAP ERP systems. In the next lecture, we will discuss about ABAP environment. Thank you very much.